Hey, what's up, my friends? Welcome to episode number 32 of Always the Journey TV. I am your host, Jason Woodland. I sincerely appreciate you dedicating your time to checking out these interviews. The whole objective here is to spotlight people out there in the community to learn more about their businesses, their jobs, their art, their side hustles, their event space, and everything in between. The objective here is to really get in on a granular level, to really understand deeply what people are doing for their business. So if there's someone else in the community that is looking for that product or service, they know exactly where to go. So small business shout out today goes to our friends over at the Anatomy of Wellness, located at 4609 South, 2300 East, suite number 202 in Holiday, Utah. These guys specialize in all kinds of massage therapy, structural therapy. They're absolutely amazing. So definitely set up a time to go and see them and say what's up. Today, I'm really excited to talk to not only just a friend, but he's actually my cousin. And we go obviously way back, and we've got a lot of really fun experience sharing ideas about music and business and marketing and PR and all the fun things. So my cousin's name is Robert John Hadfield, and he is the owner of Audio Mover, one of the most prominent analog to digital service organizations in the United States. They've done all kinds of really cool stuff. They specialize in large quantity cassette to digital projects for government agencies, historical societies, churches, and individuals. It has digitized libraries as large as 115,000 cassettes. That's right, cassettes. Good stuff there. And has assisted in archiving audio and video tapes for notable historic figures and prominent celebrities. Robert John Hadfield has been involved in media production since his teens. He worked as a professional musician in the early 90s. Actually all throughout the 1990s, performing regionally across several Western states. Some of his original music was utilized in ABC Network and USA Network television specials. In 1995, Robert John also received a bachelor's degree in advertising copywriting from Brigham Young University. And back in the 90s, I actually had the opportunity to be his guitar tech at a couple of his shows when he was playing in Utah. In the early 90s. That was probably 91 or 92 or so. In the late 1990s, after spending thousands of hours in recording studios, he built his own audio and video production studio called Thick and Mystic Media. For the last 20 years, he has had a successful career as a director, producer, and actor for media development in both marketing and e-learning. From 2011 to 2017, he led several pioneering e-learning media projects for a Fortune 500 company located in Colorado. And then from 2007 to 2012, Robert John also was invited to be a speaker for an organization called Especially for Youth, where they travel across the country inspiring young audiences to live a life of values and ethics. He also works as an actor and performer, appearing in a wide range of stage productions, TV commercials, and voiceover projects. Today, his Audio Mover facility is located in St. George, Utah, and has clients in all 50 states and Canada. His Thick and Mystic studio is now also located in St. George and includes a 17-foot cyclorama wall. I hope I said that right. Multiple sound rooms and several video sets. It is also it is the only studio of its kind in all of southern Utah. Now, something really exciting is that he is also providing us a 20% off discount for any tape transfer. So if you've got like VHS or cassette tape and you want to transfer that to digital, he is offering a 20% discount by utilizing the word journey on the audiomover.com website. And I'll be posting that website up here in just a couple of moments. So without further ado, I'm extremely excited about introducing my cousin, Robert John Hadfield. What's up?
Jason, what's up, man?
Just rocking and rolling, man. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Couldn't be better.
Nice. And you're down there.
This is super fun talking to you. Well, you and I didn't, we were cousins, of course. We didn't spend a lot of time together when we were young. And then when I think you just mentioned that we were playing a show down at what was formerly Utah Valley Community College at the time.
Yep.
Now it's, I think, Utah Valley University. And we
Yep.
were playing a show down there, and I needed somebody basically to make sure that my guitars were, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, Jason, you were a teenager at the time or something. And I thought, well, I think Jason had fun doing this, and we never see each other, and had you come down and help out with some shows or a show or something. And so that's pretty fun. And now we luckily get to see you. Well, up prior to the pandemic, we would see you a couple times a year when we come out to Salt Lake for the big comic conventions. So,
Exactly. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. My job was to make sure that the guitars were tuned. If you had a string blowout, to hurry and replace the string.
There you go. That's right.
Great stuff. And that was, 91, 92. I mean, it
would have been
early.
Yeah, it would have been one of those 2 years for sure.
Wow.
That's when we were really popping back then, or when we were playing a lot. So
yeah, time flies, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, and I love what you're doing. You've got, I mean, to really sort of define it, you've got Audio Mover, and you've got Thick and Mystic Media.
Right.
Just to share just a really quick story right before we dive into that. When we'd come out to Denver every summer when we were little to visit, I always remember I'd like peek in your room, and you always had the posters and everything. And the poster that stuck out to me the most was the Scorpions poster. Is it the record Blackout, where he's got the forks over his eyes?
He's got the forks.
Yes.
In his eyes. Yeah. One of the greatest rock albums of all time.
Still, I agree.
It's one of the greatest things ever done. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Blackout. So I had that picture. I actually even painted it once because I love that picture so much. That's funny. That would scar a young man looking at that picture.
And all it did is inspire me, because of course, like I was, all into all the wild stuff,
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I had to have been maybe 8 or 9 years old at that time.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. So good stuff. Awesome. So Audio Mover, let's talk briefly about Audio Mover first.
Okay.
So you transfer everything from tape to digital. What does that look like exactly?
If it's a tape of any kind, audio, videotape, we can convert it into digital. And what it looks like is a bunch of old stuff is what it looks like. Because it basically, just think, like you showed up on the screen a second ago, cassette tapes. Imagine taking a cassette tape like you were just holding your hand and multiplying it by 10,000. Okay? That's what it looks like. We literally, I mean, we right now in the studio, we have projects in excess of 5,000 cassette tapes just moving through right as we speak. And so what happens is we get churches, government agencies, historical societies, sometimes just individuals that have these massive libraries of tapes, and they just box them up, ship them out here, and we just have banks and banks of tape decks and computers, and literally people sit here throughout the day and just put tapes in machines and hit record on computers, and it just digitizes, it just moves them through. It's the craziest thing. And when you see it, when you actually see it in operation, it's pretty amazing. But it does look like just a whole bunch of old. It is. It's just a bunch of it's old technology, but it's very, very interesting, and it's very fun. And I'm super passionate about it because I grew up with that technology.
Yeah.
And so we get these once again these massive projects. So, and we specialize in the really, really big projects. I mean, nobody really can touch us when it comes to this stuff in the ability to get it done quickly and affordably. But we do get a lot of people that are just ones and twos. It's interesting because we get a lot of phone calls from people who see on our website that we really do these bulk things. Yeah. And they call up and go, I just have one tape. Is that okay? And yes, of course it's okay.
Oh, that's cool.
We do a lot of individuals too. But what happens is, I'll give you an example. We'll get for some individuals, they'll have somebody that they have 30 years of their grandfather who was a pastor, for example, and they have cassette tapes just of his sermon Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Wednesday evening for week after week after week after week after year, and they want to archive them. And so then they'll send them here. We normalize them, clean them up, getting sounding good, edited, put together so that they can then put them on a website or distribute them to their family or things like that. So a lot of individuals, believe it or not, there are individuals that have these giant libraries of tapes, and it's because of that. It's these things in their family. But then, we get things. Oh my gosh, I could go on about this for so long. There's so many interesting things we get where we have reel-to-reel tapes that for example, we'll get stuff that somebody I'd have to show you these little players, but these old players, we have every type of player you can imagine if it was a tape of some sort.
Really?
These little players where you had these mini reel-to-reel tapes. I could take you around and show you all this stuff, but they had these machines where people would use them like back during the Vietnam War. And mom and dad would be sitting at home and they'd record on these little machines with a little reel-to-reel tape. They'd take the tape off the machine, send it to their son in Vietnam, who could then put it on his little machine and listen. And they called it living letters. We have 3 of these machines here because people still have these. And we had one, no kidding, 2 days ago that came in. And what happens, we've had some of these where we listen to it just to hear how it's going and make sure everything's coming through clearly. We've heard literally people recording things for their parents while they were in Vietnam. And I mean, so this what it looks like here. What it looks like is history. We've done tapes for people, a former vice president of the United States. We got all these tapes sent in here of interviews of prominent people. I mean, people that you would know their names, prominent politicians and historical people through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They'd send us all these tapes of these interviews of them talking about this particular vice president. I mean, fascinating stuff. And then a lot of things where city councils have boxes and boxes of old tapes that they have to archive by law. Sometimes they have to keep them, but the tapes are deteriorating. That's the thing people don't understand, is that these tapes they weren't made to last forever.
Right.
And so then they show up here, and then we just have processes. And what sets us apart, Jason, that's really important, because there's a lot of companies that have popped up doing this kind of thing, and you've heard of them. I mean, they advertise. They've got investors that are putting millions and millions of dollars into their advertising, and even big companies like Kodak are getting into it now. But here's the thing: all these people are doing it because why are we able to survive while these other people have venture capital and millions of dollars being put into their advertising? It's pretty simple. The reason is I started this business not because it was a good business idea. I started it because it was part of my passion as a human being. Nice. And therefore I take it super seriously. And everybody that works for me gets trained on the technology and what this stuff is and how it works. I had this poor young lady that's in her early 20s a couple of days ago, and when I got that one little tape, I had to take her aside and explain to her that all these little things, because we see these so infrequently. Yeah. All these little details about it, because it's so important. I want people to understand how this stuff works and why it works. And so that the people that work here are passionate about it and understand how important it is. Because a lot of times these recordings, I'll give you, boy, I could go on so long about this, but I'll give you one other little interesting anecdote about how important this stuff is. Yeah. Several years ago, when the studio was back in Denver, we got this package in the mail, and we pulled it open, and it was a 78 RPM record. Yes, we have a 78 record player that'll play a 78. And there was a note in there with the record, and it says, "This is a priceless recording of my father when he was in Germany after World War II." And I mean, and they had just thrown it in a manila envelope and mailed it to us. I mean, no phone call, nothing. The trust people have is crazy. But we played this thing, and you could hear it was at a carnival or something where you'd go in a little booth and speak, and you'd record your voice. But this was somebody's like their connection to their history. And so, and not everything we do is that like deep,
Right.
but it all matters.
Yeah.
And so once again, this is not just some business idea, venture capital, let's go make $1 million. And yeah, we do fine. I mean, we actually do a lot of projects, but it was never that. The reason we compete and succeed and do good work is because we actually care about the stuff that's moving through the studio. So
I love that.
if you have any sort of a tape, even micro cassettes, I mean, we get things that people send in from their old answering machines. We had one. This was such a great story. We had one a while ago where it was sent to us, and there was a note in with it that said, "This is the only recording we have of my grandmother's voice," and it was an answering machine message. And it was like 8 words. It was something. I actually made a little video on YouTube about this because it hit me so hard. It was something like, "Hey, Jim and Jenna, it's Grandma. Love you. Goodbye." Something like that. That's all it was.
Oh,
That was their connection to Grandma.
wow.
And so this little tape, and it once again, it's like you start getting a sense of this little business that I've got going here is bigger than just widgets.
Yeah.
You know, this matters, and it matters deeply to the people that send the stuff to us. And so I actually we usually say, I mean, anyway, it's been a crazy, really interesting business. I would have never thought there was even a business in it. I stumbled into it on accident from the other thing that we were talking about, which was Thick and Mystic Media.
Yeah.
This kind of came accidentally because of that business. Anyway, does that answer your question? What does it look like?
It sure does. It
looks
does
like,
big
looks
time.
like tons and tons of crazy equipment and people running tapes through equipment. And then I have audio editors that then, after we run a tape, we'll sit with it, kind of minimize the hiss. If we hear background noises or hums or buzzes, we'll try to minimize them a little bit, get the volume even. So if a church sends us in 1,000 tapes, when they get the files back, they'll kind of all be kind of about the same level. So you're not constantly turning up and down your volume. And so we get it all cleaned up. Matter of fact, if you go to, we did a project for the state of Minnesota where we did 28,000 cassette tapes. This is just a couple of years ago. And if you go to the Legislative Research Library, I think that's what it is, their website, and you see all their audio recordings of the Senate and House hearings, we did all of them. So if you go to find their recordings, they've posted them all live. We were the company that did all that work for the state of Minnesota.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So we've done a lot of this stuff, very prominent stuff that we've done in the past, but because we specialize in these, especially in these bulk projects.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So let's talk about Thick and Mystic. And it's funny because Thick and Mystic was first and Audio Mover second, but so I'm a little bit backwards. But now I want to know on a granular level, what is Thick and Mystic Media and what does that business do?
So Thick and Mystic is a studio. So think of it as audio, video, marketing, production studio. That's what it is. It started out because I was a professional musician back in the 90s, and I built a recording studio, and then I started getting involved in videography and more audio production, and I have a degree in advertising, and so it just turned into this big marketing thing. Well, because I'd been a professional musician, I had all these old cassette tapes of recordings of my band, song ideas and stuff. And so I started digitizing them because I had all the professional equipment to just take these tapes because I wanted to archive them for myself. Now, this is back late 90s, early 2000s. And so I started this little company called Thick and Mystic where I was doing marketing consulting and graphics and video and that kind of thing. And because I started doing these tapes for myself, I thought to myself, I wonder if there are people that would pay to get their cassette tapes converted digital. Keep in mind, this is 20 years ago. This is a long time ago. And I thought, I wonder if people would pay money for this. I have all the equipment here to take tapes. And so I just, on my little thickandmystic.com website 20 years ago, I just put, hey, if you have any old cassette tapes, I can digitize them for you. Just that was all there was to it. Yeah. And I thought, whatever. I make $1 or $2 here and there. And then all of a sudden I started getting these calls from around the country. Hey, I have a cassette tape. I have a cassette tape. And then I said, yeah, send it in. And so we would do these little projects. We'd take a tape, and then, so this is my Thick and Mystic business where I'm doing actually video work and audio work and marketing consulting. And I'm just kind of doing these little cassette tapes on the side.
Right.
I happen to have all the equipment in my studio to do it. And so then I got this phone call from a church in California. And the guy said, I see that you convert cassette tapes to digital. I said, yeah, no problem. And he goes, so I have 1,000 tapes. I went, and I, oh, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, what would anybody be doing with 1,000 tapes? Well, it was a church.
Yeah.
And he had all these recordings of this beloved sermon or pastor that they had. And so like a good entrepreneur, I said, yeah, no problem. In the meantime, I'm thinking, how the heck would I do 1,000 tapes? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking. So they said, well, how much are you charging? So I'm kind of, I go through and I figure out this thing, but I still know how I'm going to do it. and so then we worked out this price, and they sent them in, and then I kind of started figuring out how to move these things through quickly. And over the years, I've perfected the process. But that's what happened. So it was the fact that I had a studio where I was doing audio video production. Once again, this was my passion. And I was doing it as doing marketing work and video work and audio work. And then that just, then I started getting the other phone calls from church. I started getting calls from churches a lot then. Hey, we have 2,000 or 3,000 or 500. And then I got a call from the state of New Mexico in 2000, I think it was 2007. And the guy says, so I see you do these cassette tapes to digital. And I said, yeah. And he says, well, we have a lot of them. And at this point I go, no problem. I can do a lot of tapes. And he goes, no, I mean a lot. And I said, so what do you mean a lot? And he goes, I'm talking about 115,000.
What?
I went, and so I'm kind of like going back to that moment where the guy called me about the 1,000 in the first place. So I'm thinking, how in the world would I? And so I go, well, you haven't totally scared me yet. Let's talk about this some more. So then what happened then is he kind of explained that it was for a court, and they were moving, and they needed to get these things archived by law. They had to keep them, and they were taking up space and all this stuff. And so they said, so you start talking about doing 100,000 of anything, and seconds count.
Oh yeah.
So I sat for days. I actually created boxes of tapes in cases, and I timed myself. Tape out, boom, data entry to the second, because you get off by 1 minute times 100,000, and you can really, you're putting in a proposal for something, and that can kill you.
Oh yeah.
So I figured it all out, and we ended up doing this 115,000 tapes for the state of New Mexico. This is back in 2007, 2008. So we've been doing this for a long time. Anyway, so getting back to your question, Thick and Mystic launched my little audio mover business on accident.
Wow.
Because I was already passionate about this stuff, and I had the equipment, and then it just kind of happened. And so Thick and Mystic, then the whole thing kind of comes full circle.
Yeah.
Because that took over my life. The audio mover business did. Obviously, you're doing 100,000. I mean, it just took over everything. And so my Thick and Mystic business started kind of getting less and less significant in my life. Although I was still doing some consulting and some video work. I mean, I was still being hired to go do videos, and I was being hired to do voiceover work and different things like that. So I still had my studio, but it kind of took over. Well, then a few years ago, when I finally decided to pick the place up, because it doesn't matter where Audio Mover is, it can be anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So we moved out of Denver. I got tired of the cold weather and everything, and I moved down to St. George. And so then, because of the success of Audio Mover, I was able to bring my studio, Thick and Mystic, which never really shut down. It just kind of got minimized. I was able to bring everything down to St. George, and because of the success of Audio Mover, rebuild and explode Thick and Mystic. So now we have Audio Mover fully functional and just rocking. And at the same time, we have built out a completely biggest studio I've ever owned, where we have like you mentioned, a 17-foot cyc wall, we've got 2 sound rooms, we've got 3 interview sets, and I mean, so much cool stuff here. Great cameras and micro. I mean, we do great marketing, anything video, audio production related. We've had people in here. We had Marie Osmond in here a couple weeks ago. Had Steve Cooking. I mean, we've had all these interesting people that come in here to record. And so we do all these just great. So anyway, it's funny because the one thing launched the other, and then the success of the other enabled me to circle back to what the original passion was all about.
Wow.
And now I have this really awesome video production studio down here in St. George. Yeah. And we do so much cool stuff in here. And so, you know, I have a whole staff of people running all the Audio Mover stuff, and I'm intimately involved with all the stuff because once again, I'm the guy that knows all the tech, and I train everybody. And then we so Thick and Mystic is marketing, because my whole background is in as an advertising. It's my degree is in, and then video production, audio production, anything related to marketing. We have a person who specializes in social media and some people that do work with her. And so we basically have this holistic approach to anything media and marketing related for anybody. And what makes us so interesting, Jason, that helps, it's so cool, because from a marketing standpoint, what makes Thick and Mystic, it's so crazy how all this stuff comes back.
Yeah.
Because everything so Audio Mover has functioned on my ability to do internet marketing and SEO and SEM for 20 years. So from a marketing standpoint for Thick and Mystic, when we go to a client, it's not just, hey, pay us a bunch of money and we'll do something really cool and hope it works. Yeah. It's not like that. I have a business that operates completely because I understand how to do marketing in today's world. Yep. And we're able to survive against these people, these big companies that have all this venture capital, and we still keep moving because we get it. So unlike other marketing companies who all they can really do is come in and say, hey, we know we can help you make cool stuff. I can come in and say, look, not only can we do great stuff for you, but I've got a little ecosystem, a petri dish where I know what works because I have a business that's been functioning off of my work and our skills for 20 years.
Yeah, definitely.
So we actually are showing you, we have examples of what we do. We know how to make things work. And so we can show you how to do this stuff, and we can bring what we know to the table, what we're experiencing, and take this Thick and Mystic business and then have it be this holistic marketing approach for basically any business.
Nice.
And that's what that's really all about.
Okay, awesome. That's really good to get that sort of like overview on everything that you're handling. So within the studio, people can come down there and they can do interviews and have them recorded. They can do voiceovers. Can someone come down and set up a full band and have you record like a music video? Is it?
Oh yeah,
really?
And we've got, I mean, that's, we've got a whole bunch of, we have a bunch of microphones and several cameras, and the set that I'm sitting on right now is where the cyclorama, the cyc wall, the infinity wall, that's what this is, and it's 17 feet wide, 13 feet deep. And so we could record a live band sitting right in this spot right here, or we have sound rooms, and we can isolate things. And anyway, yeah. So we can do all kinds.
I was going to try and come down there a couple months ago and just wasn't able to for a few different reasons. But I can't wait to come and see. I mean, you've had that down there for a little while, but you really you blew it up over the last 6 months, right?
When COVID set in,
mm-hmm.
It just made me, I wrote a book right at the beginning of it. And then it just got me looking around going, I had some of it already built up. Audio Mover was here going. And I just thought, we're going to really explode this place. And so we just added some interview sets and just a bunch of extra cool stuff in here.
I love that.
So yeah, people actually literally just come in and rent the place. We have marketing companies that just come rent the space because they bring their clients in here and film and do interviews. We have clients that come in and just rent our interview sets and just do interviews. and for their own podcasts.
Right.
We have microphones so people could literally come in here and record podcasts, and we can film them all 4K. Get really, really nice stuff. And so we've got anything that you could imagine from a marketing or media standpoint. And like I said, there really isn't anything like this in Southern Utah.
Right.
There's some people that have little recording studios, and it was funny. One of the guys that came in here not long ago was working for a company, and it was somebody in England. They had called us because they wanted to send somebody to do some voice work. And when the guy walked through the door, he said, "I'm so glad I'm not in somebody's basement." And he says, "I specifically told him not to send me to somebody's basement again." And I thought, that's hilarious. But because we really are the only full service audio, video, photography studio in Southern Utah.
Nice.
There are other people that have little parts and pieces of things like that. We when we decided to move everything down here, I kind of looked. I wanted to move to a place warm. I was looking at Dallas. I was looking at Las Vegas, and I looked down at St. George, and I thought, it's a growing market.
Yep.
It's big enough that it could support this, and so that's why we moved down here and we built it up, and because now we're really, as far as all that stuff goes, we're the only, other than the college, there's a university here.
Right.
They probably have a lot of video stuff. Can't use that, of course. Other than that, there really isn't anything like this in Southern Utah. So we have this really, really awesome place, and any small companies that need audio, video production, marketing on any level, and they don't even have to be in Southern Utah.
Yeah, of course.
We have, the stuff that we can do, or that we understand from a marketing standpoint, utilizing video and how that works with SEO these days, and how that works with your social media strategy. There's so many things that we can bring together holistically to actually help you achieve things that other marketing companies can't do. And like I said, partly because we've been doing it ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
practitioners.
our own little company. Yeah.
Yep. And the thing is, from a geographic standpoint, let's say specific to Thick and Mystic, because of course, when it comes to the transfer of audio from tapes, you can ship that easily. But I mean, you're only 4 hours away from Salt Lake City.
Right.
Las Vegas, you're about an hour and 45 minutes. Depends on how fast you drive.
Depends on who's driving.
Exactly.
An hour and a half.
But I mean, Las Vegas, I think, could be a phenomenal market, just for the fact that there's a ton of recording. Let's see, singers, actors, actresses, the whole nine yards that can come over. They could do a promotional video. They could do sound, voiceover work. I mean, the sky's the limit. And the thing is, I mean, you're really a really centralized area. And if you think about it, from Los Angeles, you're probably 6 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Again, depending on driving, but 6-7 hours. So, I mean, some of those places can be really, really expensive depending on where they're at. I mean, the sky's the limit for you. I'm just excited for you. And honestly, I love your passion, and I've always loved your passion. You're passionate about music and media and marketing and all this kind of stuff. And that's why, when you and I talk on the phone, I mean, we can go hours, and it's so much fun. But I love what you've got going on down there. So just to sort of recap on the website. Well, actually, let me pull up your websites here, because what would you say the best way for someone to get a hold of you would be? Is it going to be websites?
We have the websites, two of them, audiomover.com and thickandmystic.com. And then, we actually have a nationwide number, 833 something. It's on the website. I can't think of it. We have local numbers, and then we've got ways to text us and instant message and kind of everything. Yeah. And we have the nationwide number. I think we have one on both sites, but the nationwide, because the Audio Mover, like you said, it's so interesting. That business, we rarely do business with people in the city that we're in. Hardly ever. Yeah. It's almost always shipped in. We just recently passed about I think it was 100 cities in California alone that we've done business in.
100 cities just in California?
Yeah. I mean, so most of our clients for Audio Mover the majority would come from the big population areas: New York, Florida, Texas, California.
Yeah.
Most of our business comes from those states. But we have some interesting things that we can show people about search engine optimization to tap into anyway, there's all kinds of stuff that we've experienced with this, but those are the big population centers. You'd expect them to be our biggest clients. And we keep track of the cities. And we've passed 100 different cities that we've done business for from people in California alone. So, you never think about things like that. You think of how many cities are even in California. Well, there's got to be 1,000 or more, I'd imagine. But it was interesting we started keeping track of it. And I looked at it and I thought, that is crazy. To think that you've had that kind of a national impact where your kind of work has touched every corner of everything.
I love it.
And it's really fascinating. So that's the thing. But then Thick and Mystic more, at least the studio is a local thing. And so, people that are local come and use it. But part of what makes this place cool for Thick and Mystic is that we can create, because I do voiceover work and on-screen work. We have other people here that do voice work. We can literally make your videos and create things for you right here in the studio. I'll give you a quick example. There are different marketing strategies that people never really think about when you do. Video is becoming so important in marketing. Yep. It's not going to go away. I mean, obviously, it's just going to get more and more critical. Your entire website could be turned into videos, every single page. And, any company around the country could contact us, and me or somebody here that knows how to be in front of a camera could literally do the voiceover on screen and be your representative and basically read a script about your website, throw all the graphics and videos that you have on your website over the top of it, and now you have a video made that can be ranked on Google from YouTube, even if you can't get the top spot because you have other competitors on the organic stuff from a text standpoint. Well, Google tries to serve up videos too. You may have a hard time, tons of competition getting that top spot, but a lot of people won't have a video on that particular topic or on your About Us page or whatever it happens to be. And there are keywords in there that people search on that you never think about that people are searching on. So my point is, somebody from around the country could contact us and said, hey, we need some videos made, maybe related to our website. One of us, it's either us, and we have actually actors that we work with, voiceover people that can stand in front of the camera, do a beautiful video as kind of like a spokesperson on like a TV commercial, about your company, and you don't even have to come. You can be in New York, and we can create that thing for you using one of us. And it doesn't because a lot of people don't want to be on camera anyway. Right. And we know how to do it. We know how to get the visuals. We have people that can do a great job on camera and be your spokesperson or whatever. And so the point is, you don't even need to come here. We have, that's what kind of makes this marketing thing unique here, because we have the holistic everything, where other marketing and advertising agencies have all these pieces, but they have to reach out to get all the other stuff. We basically, you walk in the front door and you're done. You don't even have to walk in the front door. Just contact us and we can do everything. And we kind of know how it all works because we have a petri dish that we work on and make all this stuff.
That is awesome. And I love your theatrics. It's honestly, it makes me happy. Like it's always fun. Our almost our entire family was and is artistic, singers and musicians.
Yeah, we got a lot of that.
Acting and all kinds of stuff. And I just love that so much. Like watch, I'm forgetting to ask questions because I'm just watching you and I'm like, oh man, it's just so fun just to feed off your energy, bro.
It's fun doing that stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm flying out to Denver to go do some acting, to be in some training video for some company out there. So I love doing I actually really love doing the on-camera stuff. People hire me to actually go be a spokesperson or go stand. Matter of fact, you see me in anyway, different companies, if you watch really closely on some commercials, you'll see my face pop up every once in a while in the background or sometimes in the foreground. But it's super fun doing that kind of work. Actually,
That is
really,
awesome.
really good. So.
Well, it's fun because as you know, my mom was also an actress, and
She was truly amazing.
thank you.
She's one of those people that just had that. She because I knew her when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I remember her. She had that the X Factor charisma thing that is just really rare.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that can act, and there's a lot of people that are talented and outgoing and on, but she had that X Factor charisma, magnetic energy to her. And even when I only knew her when I was younger, you still just knew it. Everybody around her was always laughing. And she was so funny. And she had this great personality. She was super outgoing. And of course, if you see pictures of her, when she was the spokesperson for all those things down in Texas, she's like one of the most beautiful women in history. I mean, she was just absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, so she was that one of those rare people that just pops up every once in a while where you go, whoa. I mean, she just had that X Factor thing. There's a lot of talented people. But there's some people like her that were just, I don't know where it comes from, but just has that gift. So
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, it's funny because when you were saying like you'd pop up on maybe a commercial or something like that, it reminded me one night I was at a friend's house and my mom called and she said, "Jason, turn on America's Most Wanted. I'm on America's Most Wanted." Well, she was one of the actresses on one of those replays of a scene. I'm like, yeah, sure enough. And of course, that night, turn on America's Most Wanted. My mom's on it. Everybody's freaking out. And we turn it on. There she is, but she's just one of the actresses in the scene. It was just way cool.
She did radio for a while, didn't she? I mean, when she was a kid, 18, 19 in Texas, she was the statewide spokesperson for some bank down
Fort Worth National Bank.
That's what it was. And I mean, the kind of stuff the print advertisements and all the things you see with her picture all over the place. And she was just this household name, down in Texas at the time. And then when she started doing radio, didn't surprise anybody because you could just sit her down and she starts talking.
Oh yeah.
And everybody instantly is laughing. And so she had this very nice, she could sing. She had this beautiful, that's what I mean, X Factor. She had this beautiful sounding voice. She had this larger than life personality, physically just absolutely beautiful, just had everything. And so we have a lot of, we have a lot of people in our family that do all that kind of stuff, but she was kind of unique in that way that she had kind of all these things that she brought together.
Yeah, it was fun, growing up with her in, sound booths, when she was doing voiceover work, I was growing up around sound booths. And then of course my dad was a drummer. That's all besides the thing, but, just growing up around music. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you and I get along so well, but we both grew up in music and in sound and in, action, so to speak. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
But man, this has been such a pleasure having you on the show and really getting a more deep dive about the two businesses that are housed under one roof. And the Audio Mover thing, I know there's going to be a lot of people that maybe had a band, 20 years ago, and they just have a demo tape and they want to transfer it. And so just to re-clarify, there's no such thing as a job too small. And technically, there's no such thing as a job too big. Am I correct?
I can't at this point imagine what could have been bigger than the stuff we've done. and to your point, no joke, within the last month, we've probably had 5 different people that had their demo tapes from when they were in a band, and DATs and cassettes, both. And so we, like I said, if it's a tape of any kind, we got a player of some sort, and we can do it well. And so your exact scenario you just painted, we get those all.
Awesome.
So yeah.
That is really good to know, because I know there's a lot of people out there that just have one-off things. They're like, hey, gosh, I want to digitize this. I just don't know really where to go. But not only know where to go, but know where to go that's trustworthy, that will take care of it, and has a passion to take care of it, because they know, like you said in the very beginning, that sound matters. Like it's important to keep the voices from the voice or the phone message machine, whatever they call those things anymore, voicemail, that kind of stuff, all the way to demo tapes, or just all the above and everything in between. It's extremely important that we're capturing voice, we're capturing sound, and we're bringing it into the 21st century.
Yeah. Anything audio, videotape of any kind, we can get that thing captured. And like I said, even if it's some oddball thing, we've got, even cassette tapes, you probably don't even know, but a lot of musicians, getting back to your statement a second ago, there were a lot of musicians that used to have these little 4-track cassette tape recorders where their band would record on cassette, 4 tracks on these little, we have those. We had a guy that sent one last week. There aren't a lot of those out there, but once again, these are, because I understand all this stuff, because I've been around it my entire life. Once again, this wasn't just some business idea that I had one day. It was an accident that grew out of my passion. And so it created a business based on the fact that I love it. And so that's once again, I believe that's what has sustained us all these years, is we've had all these other people with venture capital, and we've seen companies come and go. For 20 years. And we're here, and we're not going anywhere. It keeps going. And I think that's one of the things that sustained us through all this time, is because I just love it. I there's something about it that I'm drawn to it, and I think it's so fascinating, and I love being able to put this together and make these things sound good and figure out. Anyway, I love the thing, and I think that's what people like. Getting back to your point, I think people like. I've had many conversations with people who decided to use our business to do a project for the exact reason that you just said. They just said, we've talked to other people, but they somehow can see that this is a little different, because it's not. It wasn't, hey, what's a good business idea? It was, even if it's a bad business idea, I still like doing it. and so we're gonna keep going, because it's really fun. And we like the results. So we've had people that have actually told us the reason we decided to go with. We watched a bunch of your videos, because I have tons of videos on YouTube. I made a video that about 3-4 years ago called "Why is an 8-track tape called an 8-track tape?"
I saw that.
I made that video because I think it's interesting, and I'd ask people and nobody knew, and I thought, I'm gonna make a video about this.
Yeah.
You see how many people have watched that stupid video? I figured there might be 100 people. 150 people. You see how many views it has now?
No.
I was looking at it this morning, because I was showing somebody. As of today, 55,000 people have watched that stupid, weird video on why is an 8-track tape called an 8-track tape.
It's not stupid, though. I mean, it's phenomenal information. It's ultra interesting.
Anyway, but it was shocking to me.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating, this gets back to the marketing thing, like I said, where we understand how some of this stuff works. Our business, Audio Mover, gets phone calls because of that video, which doesn't sell anything. We don't sell anything on that video. The video does nothing more than explain things that we understand, make sure people trust us and see that we're experts on this stuff, and the phone rings. And I didn't even have to sell anything. There's so much power, once again, in us understanding how all this stuff works together to bring business in the front door. So we actually now, learning things like this, we go, wait, we can use this with our clients. Now, if they can take the same principle. Anyway, so it's crazy how there are people that are interested in those things, so I have a ton of videos on YouTube, and it's fascinating watching how some of these people's response to some of those crazy. Who would have thought somebody would be watching that?
Yeah. Oh, man, that is awesome. Man, we can seriously, we could have an 8-hour video just talking about all the stuff we do, man. I love your passion like crazy. And I was looking down earlier, because I was trying to find the copy, because I've got a copy of your book that you wrote earlier this year.
Yeah.
About the Spanish flu. I'm just trying to see if I can find it really quick so I can show it off. And
Hey, Parrish, we grab one of our books real quick? You know where they are? They're right over there, right on the at the end of the hallway. I can put one up if you don't have one, if you want to show it.
yeah, I'm just trying to show it off for you because I mean, it's of course ties into what we're dealing with this year.
It's so funny because last year for fun for Audio Mover, we started doing these little goofy videos where I was taking old newspaper articles and we were making this little show about. We were making this little. Thank you. We were making this little show about. Basically, I was finding old murder stories from newspapers. They're over 100 years old, and we were just reading them and kind of having fun. It was interesting, crazy stuff. As much fun as you can have with a murder story. Some of them were so hilariously weird. It was just it was interesting to read them, and we were doing this little show talking about these murder stories. And as I'm reading all these stories, I kept coming across these articles about the Spanish influenza, and I didn't know what it was. This was a year ago, little over a year ago.
Whoa!
And so I was kind of just filing these things away because I kept finding them in my research for murder stories. And so I just kind of been, filing them away. And then all of a sudden, we got into January and February and we started hearing about this pandemic, this disease. And then it got more serious in March. And I started thinking back to those articles. And I thought, I bet people would be interested in those newspaper articles. And so what I did is I went back and I started finding a bunch of them and finding others. And what I did is I took a bunch of the most interesting newspaper articles, at least the most interesting that I thought were interesting, and meticulously recreated them. And here I was at the beginning of the pandemic when everything was shutting down, and I thought, I'm going to make a book because people are going to want to see this.
Yeah.
And so I meticulously recreated all these articles. I wrote little historical pieces about each article, where I found it, maybe some data about the city at the time and different stuff, and then made that.
Hold it a little bit closer to the video or the camera.
Virus 1918. And it's crazy. We sell these every day. I mean, it's amazing. It's not like I'm not going to retire off it, but every single day on Amazon, these sell on Amazon every day. And basically what I did is I just I recreated these articles. So basically went through and meticulously word for word recreated them so that you'd have them in a format that was easy to read. And we have, I was looking on Amazon, and it's not a lot, but I mean, we have like 65 reviews on it now.
Nice.
And which is pretty cool for a guy that's never written a book. And who the heck am I to write a book? But like I said, every single day we have an audio book, which I recorded here because of course, why not?
Yeah.
We have the Kindle book, and then we have the paperback. And also because we are a video and media production studio, we know how to lay out books. So we can do all of it. And so we have other people that if they need to do books and audio books and that kind of stuff, we've already done that too.
I love it.
So anyway, that's what this was all about. And it is kind of a fun. It's a very interesting read.
Yeah, it is.
The different stories. And it's also kind of a cool book because you don't have to read it cover to cover. You can actually just jump around in it.
Yeah.
Find a topic that's interesting to you. I divided it up into 10 different topics and just picked all the most interesting articles. Man, and some of these stories in here, so crazy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Weird, crazy things. People just anyway.
That is awesome.
And then you also realize that we're not so different today.
Yeah.
Than they were 100 years ago. That's one of the big messages that comes out of this. Same arguments, masks, to mask, not to mask, who can tell who to do what, shutting down things, all the same stuff relived 100 years later.
Oh my God. To mask or not to mask. That's a hilarious line.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Good stuff, man. This has been absolutely phenomenal having you on the show. I want to wrap it up by asking you, what is one of your favorite quotes or one of your favorite songs or both?
Favorite quote was introduced to me years ago by a guy that I worked for. And it was, when the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. And I can't remember the guy's name now. He was the GE CEO. Everybody knows his name too. Anyway, I'll think of it in a second. But it was, oh gosh, I can usually just rip it off the top of my head. I didn't even bother looking it up because I
starts with a C, doesn't it?
Repeated it so often. When the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. So he was the CEO of General Electric.
Doesn't his last name start with a C?
Jack Welch.
Oh, Welch. Yes, of course.
Jack Welch.
Of course.
When the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. That was so powerful when I first heard that, and it's basically it's evolution. It's the need to change. It's the ability to pivot. It's the willingness to recognize that your surroundings are changing, and you better be able to change with or ahead of them, or you will be gone.
Exactly.
And you can find so many examples of this especially in business throughout history. I've told, we've had meetings here in the studio before where I bring up the example of Sears. Sears, biggest, the number one retailer on the planet. They built themselves a massive tower in Chicago just to show the world how amazing they were. And then some dude out of Arkansas with a little company called Walmart came in and dethroned them. And who even hears of Sears anymore? Yeah. And they owned the world. And it's that same thing when everything's always changing, and you better be able and willing to change with it.
Exactly.
And anyway, when I first heard that quote, I thought that's it. That's meant so much to me, and it's still, I try to make everything, recognize the importance of try to live that way.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Now, how about a song? Do you have a favorite? Or
no, I do. I do have one song, and believe it or not, it's going to be really strange. I intentionally, at one point in my life, would not listen to the song because I didn't want to ruin it. And I still will only listen to it every so often because it's so powerful. And it's, believe it or not, it's a song, "Boys of Summer," Don Henley.
Yeah. Great song.
And when it's such a beautiful song, and his voice is so good, but the lyrics, the way, and he gets to that point today where he says, "Out on the road today, I saw a deadhead sticker on a Cadillac. Yep. A little voice in my head said, don't look back, never." And then I can see you, your brown skin shining in the sun. This whole idea of the passage of time. And the sound, the music, the melody, the words, he captures that better than I think anybody's ever captured that, just in those lines. Yeah. You hear those lines, and I sometimes, just thinking about it, like, and I don't know if it impacts anybody else the same way, but for me, that song just had the way he grabs the feeling of time and the good times, how they just go and they're gone, and you find yourself reminiscing and longing for those moments, and then all of a sudden you're a 51-year-old guy. Yeah. Look like me, or then you're 61 and 71, hopefully, and it's just like all this stuff, and it just goes and goes and goes, and you're little by little trying to grab and hold on to it, and you can't keep looking back and grab. You've got to somehow just keep moving, and the boys of summer are gone, and you're now a year older, and it's time to move forward and embrace what's next, because anyway, it brings up so many thoughts for me, and every time, so there was periods of my life where it would come on the radio, I'd turn it off. Wow. I didn't want to ruin it because it was so impactful. I would pick specific times where I would put it on so I could experience it. That's how powerful that song was to me. It sounds crazy, probably.
No, it doesn't at all.
That one, that was the one.
Dang. This has been a magnificent interview. I've had such a pleasure spending time.
It was a blast. It's so much fun talking to you, and who doesn't love talking about themselves?
Well, that's why I'm doing this. Is it gives people the opportunity to talk about themselves and their business, and get their word out to other people that would have never possibly heard about them before. So, that's what this is all about. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, absolutely my pleasure. Appreciate the opportunity, and it's always great talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I'm going to, if you don't mind, have you hang out in the green room for just a few moments
Sounds
while we
good.
wrap up the show. Is that cool?
Sounds awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been awesome. All right, so there you have it. Robert John Hadfield is in the place to be. This is my cousin. He is absolutely phenomenal, and he's got passion for days. And I love watching him speak. I love hearing him speak. He's the owner of Audio Mover and Thick and Mystic Media. Definitely check them out online. Check them out on social media. And with Thick and Mystic, they do all these really cool videos on YouTube, and they do explanations of music and different things to do with sound and that kind of stuff. So definitely follow them. And also a special shout out to all my family out there in Denver. I love all you guys. You're absolutely amazing and have been a huge linchpin throughout my entire life. So thanks again for checking this out. Don't forget to subscribe and throw us a thumbs up on the video. And if you've got questions, definitely throw those down in the comments. I'll answer, and if I don't have the answer, I know Robert John will. So definitely jump into that. If you've got analog, throw it up. Like, let's get this stuff digitized. No matter what it is, he can handle it. Thank you very much for your time. Have an amazing rest of your week. And it's also holiday week, so much love.